You said, "Oh my gosh!" What was your takeaway from this weekend of the NFL draft?
Well, the whole thing is backwards, right? So, like, the whole grade thing is based on, it's self-indulgent. It's based on what the person doing the grading thought. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like they're taking the test and they have all the answers, but they could be taking the wrong test. Like, it's all based on what if you did something that they think is worthwhile to do, right? They think now. Like Malik Willis, they thought was worthwhile to pick in the 6th pick. Go through every mock. I mean, all these guys had Malik Willis. I mean, for basically 7 hours, you saw Malik Willis as the top-rated player on Mel's board. I mean, so naturally, whoever took him was going to get an A++, right? So these grades are like, they're so self-indulgent and they're so wrong. Like, it's just based on what that guy thought, and there's margin for error. Look, nobody's perfect in picking players, me included, right? Mm-hmm. Nobody's perfect, but all of a sudden these grades act like that's perfection. And what it does is it creates a narrative. It creates a false narrative at times because we never go back. Let's just think about the Raiders, right? So they trade Khalil Mack and get all those draft picks. Yep. When you put those draft picks in there, they got panned for the trade, didn't they? They're a great trade.
Yeah.
Got a great trade. Chicago paid a lot. The Raiders got some great picks. They didn't make any of them work. What's the grade on that draft? What's the grade on that trade now? D-? F?
I think F, because they didn't pick up any of those guys' 5th-year options. They had 3 first-round picks. They had the first-rounder for Amari Cooper that they got from Dallas Cowboys. None of those guys got their 5th-year option picked up this past week.
No, so, like, that's all Fs. So my point is like, you can't really judge it. And if you pick, Cole Strang too early from Tennessee Chattanooga, you got a D. And in the write-up, people say, well, why can't you attack Belichick? Sure, you can say you disagree with the pick. That doesn't mean he's wrong, and that doesn't mean you're right. Just like me, if I were Atlanta, I would have picked Drake London. I think that's the wrong pick. Do I like the player? I'm okay on the player, but I think in terms of team building, when I look at Atlanta's team, they got an A for the draft, by the way. When I look at Atlanta's team, like, how are they going to ever win 5 games next year? Like, none of these players that they drafted are going to have an impact on their team, particularly on defense. They take a 3rd-round outside linebacker. They take an inside linebacker. They take a 2nd-round outside. Who's going to stop the run? They were the worst run defense in all of football last year. Their defense, they gave up 400 and some points. Like, how can they get an A when they did nothing to help their team in terms of building the franchise? Like, that's, to me, there's 2 separate issues. There's the player and then the building of the team.
It's interesting because value is always the word that's tossed around, but value is in the eye of the beholder, as you're saying. Like, if you like this player as your 10th rated player on the board and they're available in the round 3, you're going to give that pick an A, versus if you think that player should be the 100th rated player and they're in round 3, you're like, okay, that's like a B-, C+ type of value pick there. It's always in the eye of the beholder. And I get the grades from a process standpoint, but to an extent, like, you also have to get the results as well, and you really can't fully grade. You can grade the process, but you can't fully grade the pick until we get 2 to 3 years down the line here with these draft grades. Because, you mentioned it, the Baltimore Ravens, they're going to get their A every single year.
I called their A before they even started. Like,
they didn't have to pick players.
I called it. Oh, they got great. Everybody says they got great players, although Kyle Hamilton, can he play on the 3rd level? You talk to people in the league that know, and they think the guy isn't in the box safety. That's in vogue. That's not even in play anymore. So, like, and they got an A because Kyle Hamilton was viewed as this great pick by everybody. Mm-hmm. But look, everyone's entitled to an opinion. I am not disputing that. Everyone's a scout. I'm not disputing that. You can do it. I think I have great respect for the guys that do all the work. They watch the tape. They write up all these players. After the draft, they're writing columns. I respect all that. However, that doesn't mean they're right. Like, has anybody gone back and created a look at what their grades were as it translated? Like, for example, it hit me on Sunday or Saturday. Maybe it was Friday. I was watching after you and I did our hit. I'm sitting there. Now I know why. No network has anybody on the main desk that's actually done the job of drafting. You can say, well, Daniel Jeremiah was in the league. Yeah, Daniel Jeremiah was in the league. He was just an area scout.
He's a scout,
He never ran a draft. He never organized a draft. He never led people. He never did any of that. I'm not dismissing Daniel Jeremiah. I think he's a wonderful person. I think he's great, and I think he's good at what he does. I'm not disputing that. I'm saying he's never had any authority. You say, well, Louis Riddick did. No. Louis Riddick's never made one draft selection in his life. He's never organized a draft or run a scouting department. Meanwhile, they got Scott Pioli sitting in the back over there and on NFL Network, and you don't even see him. He's run drafts. But the reason they don't put him on the desk is because he could explain something that would dispute the people that they're trying to make into the experts. What we're getting in the coverage is they're trying to make the people that are the mock drafters or whoever, they're trying to make them the experts. If you put an expert on there, it would dispute what they're saying. And so it's just a continuation of that.
Thanks for watching the GM Shuffle with Michael Lombardi. And for more videos like this, make sure to subscribe to VSiN Live and the GM Shuffle podcast with Michael Lombardi, presented by DraftKings and VSiN, wherever you get your podcasts.